My name is Laurel Nakadate. I'm an artist and filmmaker, and I'm based out of New York and Boston. When I first began working on the Star Portrait series, I was thinking a lot about the work of Mike Disfarmer, who was a photographer working in rural Heber Springs, Arkansas between 1939 and 1945. I was really drawn to the work of Disfarmer because he photographed 1940s versions of photo booth photographs or selfies. And I was really moved by this idea that the photographer could witness these people's lives and create these photographs which served as evidence of families. I decided that I would create my own photo booth and take it out on the road. As I traveled, I would put out calls and ask strangers to meet me, and they could wear whatever they wanted and they could bring whoever they wanted to bring. And I would make these photographs of them standing in darkness. And I would light the photograph with only a single flashlight and ambient light. They became these moments in which I could stand across from a stranger and have this middle of the night connection experience with a person I hadn't met until that moment. Shortly after beginning that project, I ended up taking a DNA test because my mother always believed that there was a baby that disappeared from our family. We took these DNA tests and nothing led us to believe we had found a person who could have been the baby. But what we did find was thousands of DNA cousins. I began emailing these DNA relatives and I asked them if I could meet them at night in remote locations near their homes and make portraits of them. The incredible thing is that hundreds said yes. For the next 5 years, I traveled 50,000 miles crisscrossing across America. And that for me says a lot about the history of America, about the ways families lose track of different branches of their trees. Mothers frequently lose their maiden names once they're married. And so children lose access to whole branches of trees because we only generally use the father's surname. Another body of work that's in the Motherline show is called The Kingdom. The Kingdom is a series of photographs that were made after my mother died. My mother died before she had the chance to hold my newborn son. And as a photographer, I kept thinking back about I never got a photograph of her holding my son. After my mother died, I received a series of spam emails from somebody who wanted me to hire them for Photoshop services. And the subject of the email was, "We can fix anything." And of course, the thing in my life at that moment that most needed to be fixed was something that couldn't be fixed. What I most needed was for my mother to be alive, and I needed for her to have met my son. And so I began responding to these strangers emailing me, and I sent them a series of snapshots of my mother from throughout her life and a series of pictures of my newborn son. And the only direction I gave them was, please place the baby in the woman's arms. And what I got back were these pieced together rudimentary examples of placing a baby in a woman's arms. The pictures fail in so many ways. They're rough and the scale is wrong and the blending is imperfect. And yet they also succeed because, in fact, they are photographs of my son in my mother's arms. I look at them now, and sometimes for a moment, I believe that they're real. And what's interesting is that I was having a conversation with someone and they said, but they are real. They are pictures of your child in your mother's arms. And so it's an example of the ways that photography fails, but also an incredible example, I think, of how photography succeeds. One of the incredible things for me with the Motherline show at Tephra is that I'm able to show the kingdom and strangers and relations together for the first time. I see these two bodies of work as being deeply connected. Strangers and relations wouldn't exist without my mother's DNA. And the kingdom is all about my mother and the ways that I hoped photography could participate in a conversation between her and my son. I guess what I hope is that audiences will feel inspired to think about relationships in their own family. It's been incredibly meaningful to me to be able to show these two bodies of work together finally at Tephra.
My name is Lily Siegel, and I'm guest curator of Laurel Nakadate Motherline. When you walk into Tephra ICA, you're immediately struck by the large format photographs that are on the gallery walls. We created a space that emphasizes the environment in which the figures are standing in these really important portraits. Around the corner behind the welcome guest is a more intimate gallery space where the series of works called The Kingdom are on view. This is the first time that the kingdom is shown in its entirety. It consists of photographs created by the artist in partnership with a Photoshop technician she met over the internet. We wanted to create a space of contemplation where the viewers could think about the questions that Laurel was posing and consider these definitions in their own lives. This idea that even though we may have lost somebody or we weren't able to connect people who we love most dearly physically, they still could be connected in our memories. The title of the exhibition, Motherline, comes out of this idea when she set out to connect with people in her family. She discovered that the only lineage available to her was through her mother. So I was thinking about this line that runs through families from mother to mother, being a mother herself and her relationship to her mother and her son that we see in the kingdom. And it seemed a natural fit to partner with George Mason University, the largest public university in the area, to reach a wider audience. It also fits within Tephra ICA's mission in supporting the young artists that are coming up through George Mason's School of Visual Arts. I hope viewers come to the exhibition with an open mind and a sense of curiosity. I hope that they walk away thinking about how we can all get to know one another better and what it might mean to reconsider our lineages.
My name is Don Russell, and I am University Curator for George Mason University, and I also lead Provisions Research Center for Art and Social Change located in Mason's School of Art and Design. Art is a learning tool, and it's also more and more a research-based practice, as is the case with Laurel's work. A lot of research went into the generation of the imagery. Laurel's questions about her past, about her genetic relationships, finding all this data, like she discovered the United States of Laurel Nakadate. I think we dream about these things, finding all of our roots and sort of gaining meaning from them. I was really excited when Laurel proposed a collaboration between Tephra and Mason. And I've worked with her to put together the show that really is almost like a survey of the photographic work. To me, it's very dreamlike. The images are taken at night, which is when a lot of people are sleeping. The whole space is black, so the individual images are suspended in a black space. The way Laurel has centered her subjects, she's really putting you in her own footprints, viewing what she viewed exactly. So I think that also really brings the viewer into the present of these images. Laurel uses the flashlight as the means of lighting the subject. It's different than a flash. It's a handheld instrument that she's actually almost kind of like painting a dreamscape. But of course, it isn't a dream, it's real. Initially, for Laurel, it was a dream, perhaps, to do this project, but then she brought it into reality, which is, what we're always trying to do, right? Make our dreams real. This work is very brave and very ambitious. And so I just want the public to see that artists are there not just to make beautiful images or beautiful forms, but also to provide deep philosophical insights into daily life. With Tephra, I feel like we're really building a community in Northern Virginia, given the many diverse immigrant populations that are here. Tephra is engaging new types of audiences and bringing contemporary art, which has really been an urban-driven phenomenon, bring that kind of energy to the suburbs